What's up, kinfolk? Welcome to the #1 ranked show. I am your host, RJ Young. Thank you for watching on the Fox Sports app, YouTube, or listening wherever you get your podcast. Today on USFL Spotlight, we are going to recap Week 6 and take a little bit of a look ahead at Week 7. Also, we're going to hear from former Alabama and Birmingham Stallions running back Bo Scarbrough, who had a breakout game in Birmingham's sixth straight win to open the season. He talked about just what he learned from Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa, what it means for him to be really on the hometown team, and what he expects from himself and his teammates as a leader, the Birmingham Stallions. Let's go talk to Bo. I'm pleased to be joined by Birmingham Stallions running back Bo Scarbrough. Bo, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I had a good time watching you run the football for the Birmingham Stallions in this really great game against the Michigan Panthers. You had a breakout game, 16 rushes, 105 yards, but you don't seem to be the kind of person who is very much into his own personal accolades. And I want to ask, why is that?
Man, I try to stay the course and try to have everyone involved and not making it about one person, because it's a team game and we need each other to win. So in order for me to get, whatever, like the stats that you just named, it took everybody on the team in order for me to get that. Like I explained it yesterday, the offensive line have to block, the quarterback had to hand it off for me to hand it out to me. And then, our receiver, those guys have to, handle their responsibility by blocking their man. And because if one person not doing their job, then the whole play is ruined. So that's why I never make it so much about me. It's really so much about, the team, because it's more than one person out there playing. There's 11 guys on the field and then 11 guys make, the thing work. So that's my whole thing, man. It is giving credit to the offensive line and the receivers and the other guys that make, the play work.
I realize that's a very big deal to you, and it's working for y'all. You're obviously a 6-0, but you were being a late addition to the USFL. So I want to ask it this way. Why did you want to play in the United States Football League?
It wasn't, well, me and my agent, we had a conversation about it. And he, put my name in the portal or whatever. We thought it would be the best decision for me, put my name in the portal. And as soon as the rule had changes in the league, in the USFL, Birmingham Stallions were one of the first teams to call me. And so, I couldn't wait around and, just sit at home. So I wanted to, play football. So I went with the best, decision. And, they called and, I agreed to it. And I ended up in Birmingham.
Well, what was the reception like from Coachholtz once you found out that the Birmingham Stallions wanted you?
He called me, he introduced himself, told me who he was, and he asked me that I wanted to come play for them, and I told him, yes, sir, I would. And he said there's a new rule supposed to be changing here, very soon. And probably about an hour later, he called me. He said, we're gonna pick you up, man, and we want you here as soon as possible if you can. And you was a big choice to our decision, and congratulations. And, and hope to see you here very soon. And I was like, thank you, coach. Thank you for the opportunity, to play football again.
Well, I'm going to let the audience know that recently the USFL changed the number of players that they could have on each one of the rosters. So you can have up to 50 players on your roster. And I believe it's closer to 43 now that you can have active as opposed to 38. And Bo obviously is one of these players that Coachholtz wanted to add to his roster, but he was effusive in his praise of you and how you have adapted to the team itself. But one of the things I thought was interesting that you brought up was just how much you needed to learn and how humble you wanted to be. And the way I'm getting at that is running backs coach at Stallions is Larry Kirksey. And I wonder, what have you picked up immediately from the same man who coached Jerry Rice 1995 to over 1,800 yards receiving, coached Emmitt Smith at Florida?
This guy, man, Kirksey, we always in the film room. You know, he critique the little things exactly just like Coburn did. He remind me so much of Burn. And like, you know, you could be doing so many things right, and he gonna point out that little thing to you that you could have did right and will make you much better. And then when you go on the field and you do exactly what he said, everything happens so smooth, and you feel like you did the right thing, you know, that he wanted you to do. And you come back to the sideline and he said, see, you see that, you see, you see that little change that we made make a big difference. And now, like, you know, yes, sir. So, you know, me and Coach Kirksey, man, we watch film a lot. We sit down and, you know, we go back and forth with things on how we should do this and how we should do that. What you know, like what footwork we should take on certain plays and things like that. And, you know, we'll try it out. And that's what I like about him so much. He willing to work with you and trying to make you comfortable playing so you can play fast and at your best and be relaxed as he wants you to be. So that's what I love about Kirksey, man. We especially we watch so much film and he break down them little things to you and it translate over to the field. And then you like, wow, it's a big eye opening that the little things that Coach Kirksey teaches you means a big thing in a game or at practice.
I've been kind of floored just by how the city of Birmingham has embraced the Stallions in particular. It's not a secret to those of us that have been to Protective Stadium been fortunate enough to see the USFL that the Birmingham games are the best attended games. And as you went to a little college down the way down there in Tuscaloosa, you know, little small state college, if you will, called University of Alabama, I wonder, what's it feel like for you to get a loud cheer every time you touch the ball from this Birmingham crowd?
It's just the best fans, man. Like, you know, I think the state of Alabama have some of the best fans in the country, and they loyal fans. And, you know, they keep up with their guys that, you know, played at Alabama. And, you know, you'll be amazed at how many people attend the game and say, oh, I watched you since Northbridge days. And I followed you all the way through college and through the NFL. And it's so great to have you here in Birmingham. I get a chance to watch you play again. And it's, you know, it's heartwarming, you know, to have fans and people to come up to you and say that. And, you know, being back here in Alabama is something special to play for Birmingham. And one thing I can say about the fans of Alabama, period, they're gonna support, you know, their team no matter what city it's in. And I thank them for supporting us and taking their time out and coming to watch us play. Because they can be at a million other places than, you know, coming to watch us play for the 3.5 hours, however long it may be. Like I said, they could be at Top Golf, at the bowling alley, the movies, or at a concert, or doing something, you know, totally different from coming to watch, you know, a couple of guys hit each other. And we love that the fans come out and support us the way that they do, and how loyal they are, and, you know, want to see us win. And they just bring cheers to us that these fans are taking their time out their day to come to support us.
It's an interesting point that you raise, because the week prior to this one, I'm at Birmingham, I'm at Protective Stadium, and y'all have an 11 a.m. kick on a Sunday. And I'm like, yo, this might be rough. And no, folks decided that, hey, we're going to be able to get to church. We're going to see about a quarter, maybe quarter and a half. Then we're going to go to church because we got to see the Birmingham Stallions play. And that speaks to just what you referenced, in that Birmingham is a tremendous football city, and the state of Alabama loves its football. Again, I mentioned that you played at the University of Alabama, and I want to talk a bit about that. But do you have a favorite Nick Saban story that you can tell us?
My favorite story is with Coach Saban. Is when it is always around during the springtime, getting close to the summertime, and, you know, the media always try to, you know, bash us as the dynasty is over, you know, Alabama not gonna win anymore and all this. And then, you know, Coach Saban, he come in and he tell us, you know, my story not funny. It's just real straightforward. And I love it to this day is that, you know, he called the media the rat poison. that people listen to the rat poison. And that's what I like about Coach Saban so much, because he take up for his players. Like the media, they take it and run with it a different way. But with Coach Saban, he take up for us, and he don't want us to, get caught up in the rat poisoning, as what he called it. And then another thing that I took from Coach Saban with me is doing the right thing when you're supposed to do it, where you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to do it. And those things stick with me from day one. When you're doing the right thing, you have to know when, where, how, and why you're doing it. And that's what I learned from Coach Saban, man. And like Coach Saban, he helped me grow as a man, on the outside of football, and make me look at life different and how to go about life. And it's just a blessing to be able, to take those things from Coach Saban, and for him to, grow us as a man and as an athlete. I just think it's incredible what he does at the University of Alabama. And like the only way you can not learn from Coach Saban, as if you went there and you didn't buy into the program, you didn't, do what he have set up for you to do, and he give you so many chances. And he always want to help every player, no matter what situation it may be. He's not a 1 to 2 to 3 chance guy. He gonna give you so many chances, but it's up to you, to take those chances and change, because he want to see everybody succeed. But once you get to a point to where he can't help you, then it's up out of his hand. You know what I mean? But the thing that I love about Coach Saban is that he helped us as a player grow as a man, and not just only on the football field. And that's what a lot of people doesn't see, what Coach Saban does on the inside to his players, as making us mentally and physically strong and know how to give effort and be tough in tough situations and being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So, and it just grew on me to, do all those things that Coach Saban has taught us. And that's what I live by to this day. The years that I was at Alabama, it still live with me right now, because it helped me grow as a person and as a man, and also as a football player. So I look at things way different than I did from when I first came to Alabama.
It's an interesting point you make about just how y'all come out of the University of Alabama as football players. My favorite story being around Jalen Hurts, who brought rat poison with him to Oklahoma. Me being an Oklahoma man, I very much appreciate what he was able to do at OU, but also just how sincere he was, not unlike yourself, and how unselfish he was, which leads me to this question. In this new age of name, image, and likeness, which we have introduced as a new variable to college football, do you think you would take part in this emerging market?
I probably wouldn't, so, because like these are kids, we're kids, and you take and give this 17, 18-year-old $300,000, to come play football. Where's his focus at? You know what I mean? Where's his focus go towards his long-term goal? If you were 18-year-old and you had $300,000, you don't know what to do with that. You know what I mean? But I can't speak on too much of that, man, because, I don't know too much about it, but I don't think that it's the, correct thing to do to these young athletes.
It's an interesting point. I think it's one that's been raised by many coaches who would like to see some changes as they relate to NIL. So I appreciate you saying what you did about it. You became a viral sensation in high school because there was this particular photo that was tweeted about you with the big 601 across your chest. And I wonder what that experience was like for you when people saw that you look like a 30-year-old man ready to play in the NFL as a 16-year-old child?
And man, it was just Mike Smith, man. He was always working me out. The head coach over at Northridge High School. He was it was crazy. We were doing so much extra work because he was big at the time, had big calf muscle, tall guy, about 6'3", really, looked the part and built up. And, I started working with him, and he would make me do, I don't know how many calf raises and leg raises I would do, but we had an hour and 30-minute classes, so I would have to be with him for an hour and 30 minutes. So we would do leg lifts for 10 times. Then he make me walk, get water, come back, 10 more. Walk, get water, come back, 10 more. So I don't know. I had stopped counting after 4. And then, upper body, we were just ripping out 225 like every day, no problem. And then at one point, like this was when I was in high school. At one point, we was doing 225 like 30 to 40 times nonstop. And that all came from Coach Mike Smith. He was on me. He worked me out, twice a day, and he took care of me, made sure that I was good. But he always had me in that weight room. Definitely. Him and Mary T. Long, and she was the trainer, and, she made sure that I didn't have any little knickknacks or anything that could possibly happen. She was trying to, prevent every injury from happening. And those two people right there is the reason why I was looking the way that I did up in high school.
Well, I got to follow up with that because I'm something of a meathead. What are you benching now, and what are you squatting now?
When I was at Exos, I benched 405, and I had got up to 515 squatting.
Goodness, man. I mean, it feels like you go to Alabama, one of the things that they're also going to do is put you on a meal plan and make you bigger, faster, and stronger. So there's a bunch of players, 85 on scholarship, that are bigger, faster, and stronger once they get there than before they arrive. But your freshman year is also interesting for a number of us because it's the precursor to what we've come to understand about the skill players at Alabama. Your freshman year, the running back room was Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake, Damian Harris, and yourself. Now, it's cliche to say, but there's only one football. So how did y'all get to know and understand that everybody's got to do their job?
Well, Coach Burns, he made us that way. He made us to be ready when our number called. Because at any given day, someone can be hurt and our number can be called. So we knew that we were behind Derrick and Kenyon. Like, we knew that. So we knew that we had to learn from those guys and learn the system and learn to buy in and learn what was going on and learn how to play college football because we were coming from high school. And Coach Burns did a very good job of getting already. He was always on us. Stay ready, man. Stay ready. Stay ready. Stay in your playbook. If I was y'all and I was at home sitting on the toilet, I have my plays taped to the back of the door. As I'm taking a dump, I'll be reading those plays, and that helped us a lot because he was giving us ideas on things that we can be doing and still studying the plays at the same time. You sit on the toilet and look at your phone, right? So why if you can't take the plays to the door and look at that as a text message? So, yeah, it was so much of Coach Burns getting us ready, and it's Alabama, and we knew we was going to win. We had the mindset to win, and that what everybody in the building mindset was on. It's to be 1-0 week in and week out and to climb that mountain to the top.
Hey, man, some other people be on Facebook, Instagram. This man's, he's studying the playbook. I really do. I really love that. My last question for you, Bo, is one of the things that I was struck by was just how deferential JoJo, safety for the Birmingham Stallions, JoJo Tillery, and Coachholtz were to you when you were speaking on behalf of them. And I thought that was really eye-opening for me because I know you haven't been a part of the team for very long, and yet they already look to you as a leader. What does it mean for you to be that kind of a guy, not just for Coach Holtz, but for the team itself?
Is that everybody on our team lead in a certain way. You know what I mean? So we have to be a leader, you have to lead by example. You know what I mean? So when you lead them by example, then you get guys to buy in. But if you can talk and doesn't show the guys how it's supposed to be done, then the team not going to be together. But if you lead the team by example and showing them the way of what it takes and how it is to be a leader and what it's going to take to win, and the guys buy in, and then everybody start looking like, wow, he's right. You know, like, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to win. If we do this, then we can win. But as for me, I look at everyone on our team as a leader because everyone lead in a different way. You know what I mean? And our team, it just sounds special because we have multiple leaders on our team. We maybe 10 to 15 guys on our team that lead in different ways. And I think that will make us so good together because we have different type of leaders with different personalities that get guys to buy in different ways, because some guys may not understand what one guy's saying, but he can understand what another guy's saying that meaning the same thing, and they can bring us together as one. And not everyone is bought into the program because everybody is leading in a different type of way, but getting everybody on the same page as one. If
that's
that
all
makes
right. Nah, that's all right, man. Like, it's interesting for me to see how college football has layered over to the USFL with folks like Coach Holtz, among others. But I also wanted to say thank you for doing this. Bo Scarbrough, Birmingham Stallions running back and two-time college football playoff national champion, looking to be one of the members of the first to win the inaugural USFL championship. Bo, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you.
My thanks to Bo Scarbrough for joining the number one ranked show. It's a very entertaining listen. I'm really floored by just how unselfish he still remains to be with those national title rings and on what I think is the best team in the USFL so far, which is a nice segue into my week 7 USFL Power Rankings following week 6. To nobody's surprise, at number 1 is the Birmingham Stallions, who are the only undefeated team in the USFL. They are 6-0, and they were able to get a win against the Michigan Panthers despite not having linebacker Scooby Wright, losing linebacker Brady Buck, and also losing linebacker Nate Holley. Didn't seem to be much of a problem for them, as they also played without CJ Marable on offense, which is one of the reasons why we saw a lot of Bo Scarbrough in this game. And again, despite substandard play by Jamar Smith, I think he'd be the first person to admit that. I think it was something like 12 of 25 for 140, just wasn't really that great. They still were able to go get a win. And that's really been the story with the Birmingham Stallions. They just find ways to beat their opponents at the end, whether it's putting together long drives to finish off games, or whether it's getting timely quarterback play from guys like Jamar Smith or even Alex Magoo, who had an outstanding 3rd and 26 play where he just threw it for 40 yards downfield, and they were able to really ice the game against the Michigan Panthers. I'm really interested to see if they can keep this up as we are into the final few weeks of this inaugural USFL season. Number 2 on the list, the New Jersey Generals. That's Mike Riley's Generals that are riding high after a 5-game winning streak, right? Which is really kind of outstanding given what they've been up against. Their only loss, of course, is to the Birmingham Stallions, and we've seen them play with both quarterbacks in all but one game. They needed to do it again for their win yesterday, as they really didn't look terrible, but also didn't look like they're firing on all cylinders. But they still had some outstanding play. We saw a couple of trick plays. We saw Kavontae Turpin go off, and they've been getting some great defense against really what I thought was pretty doggone good football team. Now, I also think that it's interesting that the Stallions, have put together a 10-minute plus drive, right, to finish off the Philadelphia Stars, in week 5. The Breakers put together an 18-play drive for 94 yards. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But the Generals were able to put together a 23-play, 95-yard drive for their win yesterday. That means they took up the entire third quarter just going down the field to go score. That's pretty outstanding. That's pretty remarkable. Number 3 on the list, New Orleans Breakers. Now, we could have some discussions about why or how, but they look like they got back on the good foot against the Pittsburgh Maulers. Anthony Jones was a revelation for the Breakers. He really carried the load for them at tailback. This is a man who was not a member of the Breakers until earlier this month with the injury to former North Carolina tailback TJ Logan. They had a roster spot. He filled it coming out of Florida International. He had over 100 yards rushing on the ground, and they needed to have that with Jordan Ellis still not really being the dude that we thought he would be going into this week, but still leading the USFL in rushing yards as it is. Gerard Fernandez, who is on my midseason all-star team for the USFL, played like one, made 11 tackles to lead the New Orleans Breakers against, or over, I should say, the Pittsburgh Maulers on Sunday. I also would add in there that Kyle Sloter did not play his best, and they were still able to get a win. You're going to take that if you're Larry Fedora. Number 4 on the list, the Philadelphia Stars. Now, star linebacker Jordan Moore decided to show everybody what SEC speed actually means with the game on the line. So it looked as if the Tampa Bay Bandits might find a way to, at the very least, tie the game at the end of regulation, if not go for 2 in the win, when I saw Jordan Tamu, who played one heck of a game, toss pass to Rashard Davis. Rashard Davis went flying downfield, and it felt like Jordan Moore came from off the screen to run him down and drag him down inside the 10-yard line, which really ended up being the play of the game for me. And the reason I say SEC speed for Jordan Moore is he didn't just win the Big 12 outdoor championships in the 110 meter hurdles. He transferred to LSU and won the SEC 110 meter hurdles outdoor championship. This is an outside linebacker that can fly. You've heard me talk about Jordan a couple of times here on the Number One Ranked show, and that is also indicative of the kind of talent that is all throughout this league. You could find a 110 meter hurdle champion 4 times over and an All-American playing linebacker for the Philadelphia Stars. Outstanding. Also outstanding, running back Matt Colburn rushed for a 140 yards. This is huge for the Stars, who don't usually depend on their run game to move the football. As a matter of fact, they averaged just 65 yards a game rushing going into their win. And then we had Matt Colburn coming out with Paul Terry not being able to go for that 140. That is the 3rd highest rushing tally by anyone in the league so far this season. It's really great for them to be able to continue to push for this playoff spot, and that's what they're after, being one of the 2 teams in the North Division to earn a playoff spot. Number 5 on the list, the Tampa Bay Bandits. I mentioned Jordan Tamu played an outstanding game, and he did. He went for over 300 yards passing. He grew into the game as the game went on. What ended up dooming the Bandits in their loss is they just turned the ball over. You can't throw interceptions. You can't fumble the ball on the handoff. You can't put the ball on the floor and expect to win football games. But they had a chance there at the end, and it looked like had they been able to score from the 5-yard line, that they might have gone for 2 rather than kick or go for the onside kick to perhaps win in regulation, or even get us to overtime, which would have been fun because we haven't seen the overtime rules go into effect in this game. As a matter of fact, we've only seen 1 4th and 12 attempt that ended up working. That was Tampa Bay Bandits in this game against the Stars, which is kind of cool because the Stars are the first team in professional football history to go for a 3-point conversion and get it. I really enjoyed watching that game on Saturday. Number 6 on the list, I'm going to put the Michigan Panthers here. I'm going to put them there because it looked like they found who they are. Even as Reggie Corbin, their star running back, was not himself. Shea Patterson acquitted himself well, going for over 200 yards passing. The defense was fine to good. I'm sure Jeff Fisher's kicking himself because having just 1 win through 6 weeks would do that to anybody. But I also think that it's interesting in that they had a chance to beat the Stallions from where I'm sitting if Fisher elected to go for a 3-point conversion as opposed to a extra point conversion on their last touchdown, because you would have been able to tie the game up at 19 and then perhaps force the Stallions to make a mistake, because I'm of the opinion that the more pressure I can put on my opponent, the more likely they are to break, right? I'm counting on you to not beat yourself. So put the Stallions in a position where they have to beat themselves. That was my one note. But outside of that, the Panthers have been a good football team, and they've been in every game, it seems, at least by halftime. Never been blown out in a game. It's the thing I can say about most of the teams in this league. Number 7 on the list, the Pittsburgh Maulers. The Maulers couldn't find an answer for the Breakers running game headlined by Anthony Jones, but they could find an answer for Kyle Sloter, which is interesting. Sloter is the league's leading passer, but he went for just 92 passing yards on 21 pass attempts against the Pittsburgh Maulers. The defense has been a strength of that team from the jump. They got some offense out of Vad Lee or out of Madre London, Garrett Groshek, and they got a bit. They've got outstanding wide receivers in Trey Walker and Bailey Gaither, among others. It just didn't come together for them at the end. They're going to try to get their second win later this week in week 7. And finally, the Houston Gamblers occupy the 8th spot this week. This is a normally opportunistic defense that's been great at creating turnovers that just wasn't able to flex their might against the New Jersey Generals in this game. Clayton Thorson threw 3 TDs, but the rushing attack had just 57 yards on 19 carries. And what I think is their best player, Mark Thompson, on offense, only had 23 rushing yards on 11 rushes. That's got to be better. Donald Payne, though, linebacker for the Gamblers, continues to be perhaps the best linebacker in this league. He had 18 tackles in this game, and he's got 76 this season through 6 weeks. For perspective here, Donald Payne has more tackles than the leading scorer in the league. That'd be his own teammate, Clayton Thorson, with 66 points. So 76 tackles versus 66 points. You can see just what Donald Payne has meant to Tim Lewis and the Houston Gamblers defense. All right. Those are my week 7 power rankings. My thanks again to Bo Scarborough for joining us here on the number 1 ranked show. And my thanks to you for listening, downloading, subscribing, liking, giving 5 stars to the podcast. My thanks to our associate producer, Kyler Wojak, our social media maven, that is Javion Duncan. Our lead of screening is Rachel Cohen. Our executive producer is Catherine Donnelly. And our director is John Marcus. You know me, I'm RJ. We will see y'all in a couple of days. Deuces.